John Hudson. If you're here with John, you're out there somewhere. You must be lost because they don't know where you are. But while you're back, the other side of Big White Bird back here. That's the lost and found. They're back there waiting with Mr. John Hudson. Ladies and gentlemen, from your left to your right, the Flying Circus biplanes taking off in formation, getting ready to head back to Bealeton. But before they do, they're going to perform several maneuvers for you, formation flight. The first is this V formation. With a primary trainer, then went to the basic trainer, and then the advanced. And then you would get up to multi-engine bombers and fighters. But the first airplane that hundreds of thousands of pilots flew in World War II, our young men at that time, were these PT-17 Stearmans. William Stearman founded the company in 1925. He moved on to Lockheed Aviation after that, and a couple of his designers using, not breaking any new ground, but using designs from the past development, came up with this simplified trainer using welded tubes, steel on a fuselage, fabric-covered wings, smooth spars, and the airplane weighs about 2,600 pounds, so only a few parts to make it. And because of that, because of the simple manufacturing techniques, the Boeing company built about 10,000 of these as primary trainers in World War II. After the war, they were used as crop dusters. They were very, very plentiful and available, and at any little airport you go to around the countryside today, you'll probably find a Stearman or two in one of the hangars. This is the Flying Circus, founded in 1970. Bealeton, Virginia. Our website is flyingcircusairshow.com. We have air shows May through October every Sunday. We're the only air shows in the world where you can walk right out after the show and meet the pilots. You can climb into the airplanes and go for a ride in an open cockpit biplane and experience exactly what the pilots felt in World War II. This is the V formation, and formation flying was extraordinarily important, and it is today as well, but in World War II, very, very important, especially for the bombers. The bombers would actually form up in big boxes with 36 airplanes, the B-17s, 3 sections of 12 at different levels, and not one over top of the other. Very important to hold those formations exactly correctly so that all of the machine guns, the 50 caliber machine guns, 13 per airplane, could be directed upon the incoming German fighters and protect the entire flight. So here we have the V formation. You're going to hear different engines in these. The one airplane, the largest engine, is the Pratt & Whitney 450 horsepower, 9-cylinder engine. Now the Lycoming 300 horsepower, again a 9-cylinder engine. And those two are very crisp propellers. And you'll hear that a little bit now. First Sergeant Dave Brown is the number 03 Stearman. It's a standard Continental 7-cylinder engine in that airplane. The airplane cruises about 85 miles an hour. uses 12 gallons of fuel an hour, and has narrow landing gear, so the pilots had to work a little bit when the fledgling pilots had to work a little bit harder on landing on the hard surface to keep from ground looping the airplane. But then you move up to the BT-13, which was a larger engine aircraft. You get into the instrument training, and yes, the pilots could fly with instruments in World War II, and they did. They could fly in clouds, completely blind, using radar. They had bulky radar, but it did work. It did work. Steam gauge is very old, but they actually worked, and you know, nothing like if you go over to the collection of Diamond aircraft over there today with the glass cockpits, and that is, of course, the latest technology, which is fabulous, but nothing like that in World War II. The old tubes and everything, very big, heavy, bulky equipment, but it did work. Formation flying, leaving out of the 8th Air Force in England, heading towards Germany on bombing missions. We have a lot of B-formations like this, large formations, 600, 800 B-17s all at once in the air. Unbelievable watching those. There's some old YouTubes. You can actually see some of the footage from that. But it's an amazing sight. So this formation flying, very important. Each wingman is paying attention to his leader. And with these primary trainers, there was no inter-radio communication between the airplanes. So you'd wait till you get back to the ground, and the lead aircraft, the leader would critique everybody and start over again and work on whatever needed to be fixed. That was a V formation. We're going to go into an echelon formation. Echelon means that the airplanes are strung out on one wing or the other. Yes, they're very small, but that's the purpose of a primary trainer. There were many nice primary trainers in World War II. Stearman, the Waco aircraft, not Waco, Texas, but Weaver aircraft company built in Troy, Ohio, was another biplane. The Fleet, you can see the Fleet was the next one. If you go online, you'll see that the Piper Cub was one of the main airplanes for primary training in World War II, sought by the civilian pilot training program, and that was started in 1938 by President Roosevelt. So there we have a left echelon. Lead aircraft, First Sergeant Dave Brown, Air Force. And in World War II, it was the Army Air Force. The Army Air Corps, Army Air Forces. Frank Isbell. In the yellow Stearman. You'll hear that propeller change pitch a little bit. The yellow Stearman and the 450 horsepower Pratt & Whitney in the tail have the variable pitch propellers from inside the cockpit.
Yeah, just slow down.
Frank Isbell has Virginia Aero Classics, his company down in Petersburg, Virginia, where he maintains most of our aircraft at the Flying Circus. And by maintaining, what I'm talking about is an annual inspection. With airplanes, it's not quite the same as a car. You have to have an annual inspection, and it's usually quite expensive. The inspector will take everything apart, check it all out, and usually something is wrong, and it's usually something that costs a lot of money. Sometimes the compression doesn't check out in the cylinders, and you gotta get new cylinders or whatever. On this next pass, they're going to come into a right echelon formation. They'll be doing a break-off and individual passes where we can look at each airplane. But these are all PT-17 Stearmans. They're all the same. Well, in the Navy, they called them N2S 345. And it was just a different engine, that's all. But the engines were very, very similar in performance. As you can see, we're cruising at about 85 miles an hour. Not fast. The instructor sat in the back, and the student sat in the front. And the instructor could speak to the student, but the student couldn't speak back. They had a little tube in his ear, and the instructor could speak to him and help him with his flight lesson. I was watching a movie on the Tuskegee Airmen, and the Tuskegee Airmen were B-51 pilots that escorted the B-17s in World War II. And in that documentary, there was a whole line of Piper Cubs. And that was an excellent trainer as well, a very outstanding trainer. If you'd like to learn how to fly at the Flying Circus, we have about 5 certified flight instructors. Chuck Tippett is one of them up there in that silver Stearman. He's outstanding. He's an outstanding flight instructor. He checks all of us out, makes sure that we're doing things properly. It's a very nice right echelon formation, as you can see. And you have to pay careful attention. It's not as easy as they're making it look. And we're going to break off. Pretend we're heeling off to dive down on the Japanese fleet below and release our torpedoes. Chuck Tippett in the trailing aircraft as the airshow smoke on again. And once again, the Flying Circus website, flyingcircusairshow.com, flyingcircusairshow.com. You too can experience an open cockpit biplane ride at the Flying Circus every Sunday, May through October. Tomorrow is very iffy because the field is extraordinarily wet. As you can see, the grass in front of you is standing water. Well, it's the same at the circus. We have a grass field. Okay, nice pass. First Sergeant Dave Brown, Army Air Corps, Army Air Forces Stearman. We did not have, there it goes, we did not have a standalone Air Force until 1947, 2 years after World War II ended. So in the war, it was the United States Army Air Forces. Now the Navy and the Marines. For Ardenal, there you go. The yellow paint scheme indicates the Navy and the Marines. And the silver indicates an airshow airplane. Well, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Hallie actually pointed out a good point there. All of these airplanes are fabric covered. And when you can't just put the fabric on and then put the colored dope on, that doesn't work. And dope is nothing but a plasticized lacquer. That's what dope is, a plasticized lacquer. But you can't just put that on because the sun's ultraviolet rays will destroy the fabric. So the first thing you put down after you seal it, with maybe some clear dope or whatever, then you have to put down a coat of silver. And a lot of the airplanes in World War II were just left silver because they got cracked up so much. They said, well, why paint them? They're constantly fixing them. But you have to put a coat of silver down to reflect the ultraviolet rays from the sun. So we're going to land a couple of them. And these pilots will be around to autograph. There's Frank Isbell, I-S-B-E-L-L, from Petersburg, and he restores these airplanes and maintains most of our fleet. That one there, for example, was being flown and one of the cylinders fell out and literally broke right off of the engine. And so Frank had to replace all 9 cylinders. That's a variable pitch propeller and that 300 horsepower Lycoming engine. Lycoming engines made up in Lycoming County, Pennsylvania. For our Pennsylvania brothers here. Lycoming. Lycoming County. And then the Pratt & Whitney radial engine. These radial engines were designed from a Charles Lawrence 1922 air-cooled radial engine design.
Well, Chris, is sort of whatever they had available at the time, wasn't it?
Well, that's true.
On the front of the Stearman. We were going to war, we were building these airplanes for training air trip. Wherever they had land on fence, they put them on the front of the Stearman and flew it.
Many times that is true, Howdy. Exactly right. As we taxi by, you can wave to them, and we'll turn it back over to Howdy and say, thank you very much, folks. Please come see us at the Flying Circus. God bless you all.
Chris, thanks for coming up here all weekend long. Appreciate it.
My pleasure, my brother.
Have a safe ride back home tonight now.
Thank you.
We're going to be here before 4 o'clock today, for good folks. So wander around. We got a lot going on back here. Talk to people. Talk to brakes and people back at these cars. Got Wisco Racing. They got a McLaren, a Corvette, and a Ferrari sitting back here and walk around looking at them. Oh, I like the McLaren. A little over my budget, but it's a nice car. You can talk to Boss, but I hear Flying Greg's walking around here looking nonchalant.